This is Adventure for Life. I'm Joel. This is day 16 of the Grenadier 15,000 mile cross-country trek. Day 16 is gonna lapse over, quote unquote, day 16 is gonna lapse over multiple days. We're driving across Canada, and there's just lots of open areas with nothing specific that we're doing except driving. Anyway, what am I showing you right now? I'm showing you a canola field, and there have been miles and miles and miles and miles and miles of canola fields as we've driven into Canada. We're northwest of Edmonton at the moment. So far, we have survived a wildfire. The smoke was covering Edmonton when we were there, spent the night there last night. Some nice Albertan just stopped by to make sure we were okay out here since we were parked out in the middle of the road. Wasn't that nice? Anyway, so we survived a wildfire around Edmonton. I mean, it smelled like all night. I was like, man, did they allow smoking in this room or what? And this morning, I can actually still smell it now when we're probably 40 or 50 miles outside of Edmonton. So we survived that. We survived the Microsoft CrowdStrike computer outage. If, by the time you watch this, it'll have been a couple of months ago. But that happened last night. So they couldn't even give us keys to our room last night. They were letting everybody in their rooms. One of the managers was doing that. And we've also survived $5 a gallon gas. And so obviously gas is expensive up here. And I had to do the little liter to gallon to Canadian to US dollar conversion. But anyway, I'll show you some stuff. I wanted to give you an idea of what we're looking at. Again, lots of canola fields, lots of hay fields. And the canola fields are beautiful, obviously. So again, we're headed to Fort Nelson tonight. That's where we'll be spending the night, about a 10-hour drive today. And expect to really just be driving across the country and seeing more of what you're seeing right now. Okay, sorry, this is a little gross, but upright windshields not only catch rocks, but they also catch bugs like you wouldn't believe. So I'm getting ready to clean this thing right now, but it's maybe silly that I'm showing you this, but it is like that every time we stop. And I got to do a pretty thorough window cleaning job every time we stop for gas. So okay, I've seen the world's largest ball of string. I've seen the world's largest pistachio. I've seen the world's largest something else. And here apparently is the world's largest beaver. So not exactly sure what beavers have to do with this town. I'm not even exactly sure what town I'm in. We just went through Grand Prairie, but this is past that. Anyway, I don't know if that's the world's largest beaver, but there it is. So I've now figured it out. This is the town of Beaver Lodge. It is not a thriving metropolis. There's one end of Beaver Lodge, and there is the other end of Beaver Lodge, but they suckered me into stopping to take a video of this beaver. So I drove a couple 100 yards down the road in Beaver Lodge, and what do I find? But Snoopy and the Red Baron, the bird would be Woodstock. But this is hilarious. This is why you do silly cross country. One of the reasons you do silly cross country drives is to see the crazy things that people do on the roofs of their businesses, I guess. Okay, so I was planning on getting video shots of all the, important stuff along this route. And honestly, there was nothing when we moved into Canada from Montana that was worth doing. So I passed on that. But sorry if I went a little too fast. This we got to do. Welcome to Dawson Creek, mile 0 of the world famous Alaska Highway. So again, I lived in Alaska when I was a kid, and we flew up there. My dad was in the military, but we drove back and we drove the Alaska Highway. And so, oh, there we go. Dawson Creek, Fort St. John is 48, I assume kilometers, maybe it's miles. Oh, it's miles. Fort Nelson, Whitehorse, 918. I think we're staying there tomorrow night. Fairbanks, 1,523 miles. So we'll be there a few days from now. Anyway, so this is the start of the Alcan Highway. Thought I'd do a quick 360 of not only the sign, but also the land around farm country. This, by the way, is the Dawson Creek show. This is not it. Okay, this is just couple miles probably down the road from that other marker. You are now entering the world famous Alaska Highway in Dawson Creek, British Columbia. And if you see right over there, I assume that's a surveyor, or am I pointing in the right spot? Yeah, that's a surveyor or a prospector or something. It looks like he's got a little piece of surveying equipment. Anyway, here we are in Dawson Creek, British Columbia, and headed down the Alcan Highway. Again, I did this 55 years ago, probably. Okay, so as we've established already, Joel is not always the sharpest tack in the box. And two things. One, we just backtracked 13 miles because we drove out of Wanawan, I think is what the name of this place is. And it is the last place to get gas between here and Fort Nelson, which is 150, 60 miles away. We'll look it up and post it on the video anyway. So I was blabbing on the phone with a couple of people when I had cell service, and guess what? I drove 13 miles past here and had 150 miles worth of gas and 170 miles worth of to go, and I had not filled up the gas tanks up there yet. So we backtracked 13 miles. I filled up the gas tanks. Now again, I put those just like they are so that if they leak, they'll at least leak off the back and off the side. And actually I was putting these things up on the Grenadier just now after filling them up, and this guy walked by and he said, "Do those things leak?" And I said, "Well, I just now filled them up for the first time." In fact, it was that guy right there in the blue shirt that's walking out, and he said, "Well, I had those on my Skidoo and they leaked like a sieve." So we're gonna see. I mean, obviously everybody and their dog has these Rotopacks, and I've put them on. I saw a guy on a motorcycle earlier that had two of them mounted on the side of his motorcycle. One of the guys that I rode with to Washington had them on his motorcycle, and of course we were bouncing all over the place on the BDRs, and he never complained about them leaking or anything like that. So we're gonna see what happens. I now have a full tank of gas, and back to the not smartest tack in the box. Guess how much you pay for gas at the last spot before there's no gas for 170 miles? Well, that would be $6.20 a gallon. Now, on one of the BDRs, if you didn't watch it, a couple years ago I was in Washington or Idaho 1, and they were selling gas up on the mountain for over $11 a gallon. I believe I didn't have to get gas there because I had a bigger gas tank on my BMW than the other guys did on their Husqvarnas. What were they? KTMs. Anyway, I did pay $9 a gallon at one particular spot though. Anyway, so I just paid $6.20 a gallon to fill up the Grenadier and to fill up those red roto packs up there, and we're going to see if they leak and exactly how many miles it is from Wanawan to Fort Nelson, where we're spending the night. By the way, I got great news for all of you electric vehicle drivers. Right here in the exact same spot that I just paid $6.20 a gallon for gas, you can charge your electric vehicle and drive 170 miles without any other options. By the way, we were out in the middle of nowhere earlier today. We pass a government rest area, and what do they have? 2 fast charging stations out there. So Canada's doing its part so that you electric car owners can drive the Alcan Highway and make it to Dead Horse. Okay, so we're 50 miles from where we got gas. And by the way, there was a spot, Pink Mountain is what it was called, 40 miles from where we stopped to get gas, that had gas. And so that just tells you that, in fact, the guy that worked at the place where we got the gas said, no, there's gas 40 miles up the road. But that's not what the GPS and our phones were telling us. So that's why we turned around and went back. So trust the locals. Can't always trust your electronics advice. Anyway, if you can see, in the distance, it's kind of hazy right now. Sun's behind the clouds there. But in the distance there's some mountains. There's mountains all around us actually, and it's pretty awesome. And this is what we've been looking at for the last 40 miles, and actually the last several hundred miles, is lots of trees, lots of mountains, and lots of natural beauty, and lots of gravel roads like this that I think they're logging or other kind of minerals. Maybe it's oil field, I don't know, but seen lots of trucks with heavy equipment on them. Okay, so we're at 14,999. I pulled off the road. Not that it's that momentous, but I figured I'd let it roll to 15,000. Again, I think I started at 64.56 or 59 is what I remember. So this would be, 8,500 miles once I hit the 15,000 mile point. So slightly momentous. I think this 15,000 mile cross-country trek is going to turn into, like I said before, maybe 17, maybe 18. I don't know, because I've got almost 2,000 miles before I get to Dead Horse, and then I'm going to drive all the way across Canada and then back down south. So, okay, well, I thought that was going to hit 15,000 a little quicker. We're going to just take a moment. Not in too big a hurry tonight. See the 15,000 coming, going once, going twice, going 3 times. Come on, there you go. So we're at 15,000 miles on the Grenadier, and that makes about 8,541 miles if I did my math right, or 8,544 miles. Anyway, see you down the road. Okay, we're about 30 miles from Fort Nelson, which again is where we're going to spend the night. But I pulled over here for a couple reasons. One, there's at least 2 gas stops between. Having said that, one of them I'll bet was extremely expensive. Probably both of them were. Second thing is, if you look up there, and I mentioned the haze earlier, well, we've been driving in this haze for really since we left Wanawan, I think that was the name, and it's a wildfire somewhere. So this haze, this smoke has been here for 3 hours, 140 miles, whatever, 2.5 hours. And so I'm going to try to find out, obviously, where the wildfire is. You can smell the smoke, you can smell the burning, but it's not real strong. So my guess is this is blown here for someplace pretty far away. And then the other reason is just the seeing these pink flowers for miles and miles and miles and miles. Now I did find also that I just now had to switch the battery in this GoPro, and there are black flies all over the place. I've been bit once already, so I don't know about camping out here. Probably wouldn't be too fun, but anyway, see you in Fort Nelson. Okay, made it to Fort Nelson, got some gas, and I wanted to leave you with that look at the sun through the fire. I mean the smoke from the fire, wherever it is. I'm gonna find out where it is, but we're gonna call that the end of day 16 of the Grenadier 15,000 mile cross-country trek, which is becoming a 17 or 18,000 mile cross-country trek, but we'll add that all up at the end. See you tomorrow.